Happy Friday and good morning. Today is 29th of April, year 2022. This is day 5 of lockdown in Beijing. And here I would like to say to my brothers and sisters of China living under lockdown, whose dignities have been severely violated and whose individual intelligence and common senses have been cruelly insulted, that I am here with you. I gave up my life in another country and more recently gave up my opportunities to flee from the city before lockdown to be here, bearing the hardships with you. So later today there will be the third collective mass COVID test right here in this microrayon. But before that, as the microrayon slowly wakes up, and I think it's time to just calm down and to review the situation that we are facing and explain how China came to this point with lockdown like this, because it's better sooner than never. I have heard some news that police have already started to arrest people in around this area. So I don't know, because from time to time those people who review their unpolished, genuine experience with China are always on the list of criminals, so to say. So I better do this video at this point. Probably there will be nothing exciting happening in this video except just me talking. So please feel free to put this video aside and just listen. Okay, so the first point is what's the situation here, and of course there are two aspects of the situation. So the one is the virus, the other is the lockdown. As for the virus, the data I used in previous videos, a little bit, the use of the data, I must say, is a little bit chaotic. So all in all, the cases in early April, in many senses, are irrelevant to the current lockdown. So in today's video, I will talk about only the cases since reported since the mass PCR tests have been taken places. So the first mass PCR test took place on the 25th. That's in Chaoyang, and other districts in Beijing gradually began to have theirs from this day. So the first one was on the 25th, and usually the second one in most of the districts are on the 27th. So today is 29th. There will be the third one, and allegedly there will be two additional ones in next week. One on the 1st of May, the other on the 4th. Usually China will release the full data, the full result of a PCR test 2 days later. So on the second day to the PCR test, they will finish the uploading of all the results. So on the day after, they will, at least we can believe that they will release the data to the public in a official report, which means on the 27th we have got the data, the report on the number of cases on the 25th and the 26th. So that would be the result of the PCR test took place on the 25th. So yesterday we have received the result from 27th, but so far because this is too early on 29th, so we still haven't got the official report on 28th. So far I have the data of three days from 25th to 27th. So the total number of cases is 116. So that's how many cases have been discovered so far throughout the mass PCR test days. And the mass PCR test takes place in 11 districts in Beijing, with a total population of around 17.7 million people. 17.7 million, which makes the rate of infection 6.5 millionth, which means there are 6.5 people per million are now COVID positive. So I would say that's a relatively small number. And then so far in Beijing, there's no COVID deaths. People died either with or from COVID being reported. No deaths. And as far as I can remember, all the cases are just light. They are not very severe. So that's the COVID situation, the virus situation that we have here. And the second part of the situation is about the lockdown. So since 25th of April, the microrayon that I am living in have been put under strict lockdown. That people inside could not leave since the evening of that day. So today is the 5th day of lockdown. So still we cannot leave this microrayon. Even those who can leave, because the policy actually different from microrayon to microrayons. So in some microrayons, people can leave their microrayon to shop for food, but they cannot leave a wider area that the government just basically drawn on the map. So I don't know the size of the wider area, but I do know that the area we are now confined to in this microrayon is 60 square kilometers. 60 square kilometers. So this is the size of this microrayon, and we don't have supermarkets or restaurants inside of this microrayon. There's only a fast food, kind of like a trailer, but I don't know if they are open today. But we never actually bought any food from them. We can shop online for food. However, it is in general very difficult to have them delivered. Probably on the first hand, the delivery persons they do not want to go to here, or at least their companies don't want them to go to here, because if they come here, they might be detected by their health code system that they are in close contact with so-called COVID hotspot. So very few delivery persons will actually come here, and very few websites can provide such service. So in general, we cannot go out to shop for food or go out to eat. Neither can we easily just shop for food online or shop for anything online. It is in general difficult. And in my microrayons in particular, the lockdown is actually not enforced by the government. It is actually enforced by the hospital whom this microrayon belongs to. So this is actually a remnant, or rather a phenomenon of communist China, because in China people are considered as always a part of a larger organization, or it could be your company or usually your workplace, or for farmers maybe their village. So this kind of comes to my second point, is how China came to this place with such type of lockdown. So as we can see from my footage released in earlier days, this type of lockdown is only possible when people are living in microrayons. If we are living in houses along the street or in townhouses in the city, this wouldn't be possible. People could sneak out from their back window or sneak out from their backyard. It's in general very difficult for police or for anyone to enforce such lockdown in countries where people don't live in microrayons. So the microrayon is, I would say, that's culprit number one of today's situation. And culprit number two, at least in my microrayon, is the hospital. The hospital manages this microrayon because they can do whatever they want. So insofar as they're doing is aligned with the government's willing. So they are managing us on behalf of the government, although I personally am not a staff member of the hospital. I am not. I am just living here as a resident, but I have no individuality even in my own house. So that's how China came to this point, because all of this is based on the lie that men and women and their families are made for the society instead of the way around. But we know that it is not true, because human history came from the point when everyone lived as individuals, and the individuals, namely men and women, started to form families. So individual and families are the very basic units of human society. So they are created much earlier than society. So today's concept of society actually came largely from French Revolution. It is made up. It is an artificial idea. As we can see from the law in revolutionary France, that I'm just making an example. Suicide have been made illegal in revolutionary France, not because of religious reasons, but because back then people's life and their health are considered as the property of a wider society. So they are not free to do anything to their own lives and health. They are not in their own disposals. So this actually sounds very familiar. So today, I think people all over the world have already witnessed how far can public health policies go. How far can they have an impact on our own individual lives? And totally, we are not in charge of our lives. And that's all came from the idea of French Revolution. So, this kind of idea have been introduced to China, I would say since the Opium Wars, and especially during the period after World War One, I believe it's called between war period, after World War One, before World War Two, and so I would say such idea actually came. They are kind of seasoned by the Oriental Stoicism that's been very popular in China. So as people nowadays arguing whether China is communist or socialist or is China Chinese, I would say today at least the version of socialism embraced by China is a brainchild of modernism and Oriental Stoicism. So I say this is why China is having a so hard attempt to shake off communism, because in China, at least in Oriental Stoicism, individuals don't matter. They don't matter at all, and they are considered as devices or as instruments of a higher power, the emperor usually, and people are told they have to suppress their own desire. Desire is bad. They have to suppress their desire just to serve greater good. So this came naturally, getting naturally along with modernism that I talked about earlier. Came from revolutionary France. And so this came to the point that I would say in the early years of the People's Republic, individuals of China are largely considered as instruments of the society. The society has become the new king, the new emperor. So they are considered as instruments of their society, as well as their workplaces. Because their workplaces, whether there's a factory, a hospital, or a school, are also instruments, or kind of like the organizers of the society. So the society organizes workplaces, and workplaces manages individuals. So that's how the society is like, even nowadays in China. Therefore, as we can see, that China nowadays has this type of lockdown, where when people are confined to their own microrayons, and usually each microrayon would have their own WeChat group. So even though they're living in their own apartments or houses, or even as you can see, the little cells on the hive, on the apartment building looks like a hive in this video. So they are not individual families, but they are considered as only parts of a wider society. And I am not here to judge, whether it is right or wrong, but I only say this: when you yield your individuality and the independence of your family, and you also yield your desire for good for yourselves, only thing you get is to have someone else takes all of this, and someone else became the beneficiary. Usually the someone else is a government elite, or could be a big farm, big tech, someone like this. So when you yield your desire for your own good, you cannot create a better world. You only give the opportunity to someone, even I would say more evil than you. They will do worse. They will put more people in misery. So this is what happens. So that's why such lies that families are made for society must be condemned. Because we are not made for society. The society is made for us. The government is here to serve us. The society, there probably shouldn't be a society. We're just communities. We can just be communities, and we help each other on just between individuals. Yeah. It kind of comes to the next point: how the Chinese people in my microrayon treat this lockdown. But sadly, it's very disgusting to see that people are grasping on each other just because some of the residents in this microrayon has greater level of freedom than the others. They might be hospital staff, so they could leave this microrayon, but those who cannot leave, they're jealous. So that's disgusting to see, because the government wants people to fight against each other. So when they fight against each other, they will go to the police, they will go to the government for help. So that's how the government centralizes power. So it is very disgusting to see people in this microrayon. They are not against the government, but they began to be against each other. And also they kind of treat the government like a god, and they will say, well, the PCR tests are free. Well, thank goodness, that's good. And they will say, well, at least we can still shop online for food. That's good. Thanks all be to the government. You are my savior. So that's how the Chinese in my microrayon treat the lockdown. So you can see that the lie that they are made for the society, not the way around, has already been deeply implanted into their hearts. So that's all for today's video. Hopefully this gives you a better idea about what the situation is and why this kind of lockdown happens here. So thank you for watching. Because, well, at least today is warmer. I think this it will be warmer than the last last 2 days. So it would be good for people waiting outside for the PCR test. So again, to my brothers and sisters of China, remember I am here with you.